Hi folks, Kevin from the Canyon River Grill. Today I'm going to give you a few tips about how to deal with one of my favorite vegetables, the artichokes. So first of all, I always use gloves when I deal with artichokes. A, they'll stain your hands if you don't, and they also have a really kind of unsavory, bitter residue that stays on your hands, and it's kind of hard to get off. And if it stays like that, and the reason why the cooked artichokes don't taste like that is the heat makes that dissipate and react. So a lot of people kind of struggle when it comes to what to actually do with it. And I'll show you this technique. One, I always use serrated edge knives. I like this little bitty Dexter serrated edge knife. It's great for all types of vegetables, but especially the artichoke, and I'll show you why and when. Okay, and then I'll use a serrated edge knife to remove the tough outer leaves. So I'll start by doing that, okay? And you'll notice that I have a certain angle here. And because I want to try to preserve all the great usable meat, and with an artichoke, there's really not that much. So you gotta be really careful. Any of this leaf matter up here is not really edible anyway. And so I can just cut it out, but notice the angle of my knife. Okay, and so I'll just cut around in a circle first, then I'll do one, and then we'll do another one. We'll do the other two after that. Okay, so this second cut is here. Okay, so that trims a lot of the tough layer that you know you're never going to use anyway. I'll pull some of these leaves off like this, and then I'll have another pan close by to work into. I don't ever work into a garbage can per se. I'll work into a secondary pan and then empty the pan into the garbage or to a compost bin, because if you're working with your vegetables or artichokes over the top of a garbage can, sometimes you'll accidentally drop in the garbage can, and so to me, I never want that to happen. So here's the point. Take the artichoke, and the angle is important. The way I hold it and the angle of the knife is important here. And so I'll go around. If you notice, my knife is at a certain angle when I'm making that circular cut around the stem. Okay? So that gets me to here, this point. Okay? And now I'm going to take it and what the French call tourner the stem. And if you see the cutaway stem, you can actually see where the edible part begins and the cellulose tough part on the outside is. So that's what you want to remove. And again, like I said, the key is to not shave off any of the edible portion of the artichoke because there's not a whole lot, and you got to make sure you get every single bit. And so I'll take this, and where I can still see these lines, I know that I still have some work to do. So if I want to take it and take a look, see how I'm doing, I can stop. And just like with the small part of the tip of your knife, you want to just keep, oops, see, there you go. I get into that pure white part, and that's the part you don't want to lose any of that. So, okay. Now, once you get to this point, you can trim off the rest of this to make your nice circular little cut. Okay. See how I'm holding my hands and guiding my knife with my thumb? That's very important. If you're going to do it like this. Okay. Now another thing is, you see how the artichoke starts to turn brown or black right away? It oxidizes rather quickly. So in order to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to dump this into a little acidulated solution. Acidulated solution is just a fancy way of saying lemon water. So I put in a little bit of lemon water like that. Now, here I am, okay? You can see the artichoke taking shape, the usable artichoke heart taking shape. Now, what I'll do from there is I will cut off a little bit of extra right there. Now watch this. I take my knife, put my thumb on the tip of the knife, and at the right angle, I'll stick it in just enough to work that choke out. See, and I'm turning the artichoke itself. I'm not turning my knife. And the choke comes out, just like that. Okay? And like I said, that technique will yield the most usable portion of meat on the artichoke. See, this is the part that you're not going to use. It's not very pleasant to eat. So I'll dump that back in there just for a second, just to make sure that this part's not going to turn brown. And then I'll go back and just finish up any of the heavy bits that I know I'm not gonna use. But I'm taking a lot of care. And when I do artichokes, you know, I take my time. Because if you buy an artichoke, one artichoke, that's all you're gonna have left out of that. So a lot of times I see people, sometimes cooks, when they first start off doing this, and by the time they get finished, they don't have anything left to the choke. So that's my first heart. And typically I will roast this cut in half. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut it in half right now. Just like this, real simple. Cut in half is the way I'll roast it. Drop it into my solution. Okay. Now, I'm going to try to do one, and I'll do it a little bit quicker to where I would do it. Okay, so. And when I do this, if I'm going to do a couple artichokes, I'll get them all to this point. And notice I'm turning the artichoke. I'm not trying to run my knife around it. I'm just cutting a little bit, turning it. That's going to give you a nice circular shape, okay? And when I make my cuts, I take great care to make sure that I'm not cutting off any of the usable part of the artichoke. Okay, so. And this is where I start working with my fine knife. Pulling that off. Now to the stem. See how my hand turns to artichoke. Sort of like a cake wheel concept. Deep down. This. Dip it in there for a second while I just clean the excess leaves off. That. Look for that sweet spot, and if you get it right, you can do the whole choke in one motion. Comes right out. And once you've done enough of them, you'll get it right. Drawing the knife towards my thumb gently. Makes precise, long cuts. There you are. Now, like I said, sometimes, depending on the artichoke, the choke will be larger or smaller, but these are some really nice meaty artichokes. and that's going to make a delicious dish. There you have it, folks. That's my technique.